Hey there, Breakfast Clubbers! Welcome to this week's episode of Back Issue Breakfast Club. I'm Crayle Vanest of Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, and this show is a part of the Back of the Cereal Box podcast network. This week, we'll be reviewing Gotham City Sirens Book 1. It's by Paul Dini, Guillem March, Tony Bedard, and Andres Guinaldo. And authors, if any of you happen to see this, I apologize if I pronounced your names wrong. Spoiler alert, this is going to be a very positive review. So many talented people worked on the collected comics that are in this, and it really comes through. So, grab your coffee. You'll need it to keep up. I mean, I'm always drinking coffee anyway. It's kind of what we do here at the, Back of the Cereal Box network. We're very into breakfast and breakfast beverages. So this novel starts out with Catwoman. It takes place after the events of Batman Hush, which is another great novel if you've never read it. And she is really thinking on how she's been weakened, like her heart was literally replaced recently. Batman is not present in Gotham. I won't spoil any reasons why, but he's not around. And so she's been almost pulling this hero act, and she tries to stop this regular goon and is struggling, and Poison Ivy happens upon her and the fight with this regular goon and notices that she's like getting her butt kicked and helps her out. So out of camaraderie between them, she invites them back to her place, which it turns out is actually the Riddler's place that she and Harley have been squatting in because they are scamps. As the conversation unfolds between Harley, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman, they decide to start this sort of shaky alliance. They've all three come into a bunch of money, and Selina Kyle / Catwoman wants to buy this abandoned animal sanctuary and turn it into sort of like an anti-hero retired villain paradise, armory to defend themselves, a place to relax that's customized to each of them. And they agree to enter into this sort of shaky alliance, and things kind of go crazy from there. Like, first of all, it's not really clear if they're fully on the straight and narrow or not. Each one of them has their own struggles throughout these stories with, I'm saving people, I'm doing a good deed, but also I have my own agenda, especially Poison Ivy, because she's not really sure if she still really fully even identifies with humans, because humans pollute the planet and harm the wildlife and nature around them. So she especially is feeling very detached from most humans, except at the same time, she's developing this deepening bond between herself and Harley and Catwoman. Meanwhile, Harley Quinn has recently broken up with the Joker, and she's so back and forth on, I'm done with Mr. J. But has he called? Were there any messages? He'll call. I'm sure he'll call. So as these stories go on, some of them are very individual to each of these three girls here, right? And some of them are all three of them on an adventure together, and every single one of them is great. There are questions about insanity, questions about, should I get a day job? What are we going to do with all this money we have now? And every chapter of it is so interesting. Another really great thing about this novel is that we aren't just seeing Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman. We see a lot of Harleen Quinzel and what her family life is like and things like that. We see a lot of Selina Kyle, and we remember parts of her family too, and it becomes relevant to some of the final stories in this collection. And then we see Pamela Isley make a return, almost as if Poison Ivy had thought she was done with Pamela Isley, because, spoiler alert, she gets a day job. She's one of the ones who gets a day job. So, and that's really fun for me here in my Selina Kyle cosplay, where I didn't have to do the full Catwoman suit, because even in the art, we get to see these very casual sort of, intimate depictions of them. Here we have Selena Kyle dressed to go out and she's solving a mystery in the neighborhood, and there's Pamela Isley dressed for work in her business professional attire. And it's a combination of this different, really casual look that takes up a great portion of the novel. But in the meantime, we still get some adventures where they fully suit up. The Riddler also is experiencing this sort of, is he Edward Nygma, private detective now? Is he doing good work? Or is he still, kind of a snake in the grass? Does he not have a hold on his more evil tendencies? And is he just putting on a show of a good PI? Which plays into one of the really big themes of this novel, which is alliances and why people make them. Do they make them out of self-interest more, or do they make them out of a sense of camaraderie? And between the three main girls, there's also that sort of girl power relationship of needing to rely on each other as women. It's sort of an undertone. It's not spoken outright. It does kind of put the Riddler on the outside, even as a main character of this novel. Another theme that gets addressed on a regular basis is friendship and family, which ties into those questions of alliances and why people make them again. But some of them also are just deepening the character, Selena Kyle and Dick Grayson, what is their relationship? Harley Quinn and her dad, why did Harleen Quinzel become a therapist? If you never knew, you'll find out in this novel. Pamela Isley, again, is just struggling with, why don't I just run away to the jungle forever? Why am I still so connected to people when I think people are awful, right? Except she doesn't think all people are awful, because she has this strong friendship with Catwoman and Harley Quinn. It also deals a little bit with moral gray areas, because sometimes they're acting like outright superheroes. They see a mugging, they see someone in trouble, there's a missing dog in the neighborhood even, and they want to help. But at the same time, they want to stay rich, and they have their own pet causes and agendas that, will they return to their villainous ways of achieving those ends or not? You find out somewhat in this novel, and then there's more to read in the next book. So I really recommend it. I don't feel like you need to have read a bunch of Batman stuff to get it. Catwoman kind of summarizes where things are at. So as long as you know who the main characters are, like Nightwing, Dick Grayson, Batman, obviously, the Riddler, if you have a base familiarity with the denizens of Gotham, the Joker, then you can jump into this book pretty early on into your comic book journey. And that's another thing that's really great about it. So this has been this week's episode of the Back Issue Breakfast Club. We're a part of Back of the Cereal Box Podcast Network. I'm Crayle, part of Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, and we'll see you next week.